The weight of secrets. The crystal chandelier trembled as Marcus Ashford's fist struck the mahogany desk, sending ripples through the brandy in his glass. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office, the city glittered like scattered diamonds, but inside, shadows gathered thick as smoke. Failed? Both of them? Again? The headmaster's voice crackled through the speakerphone, apologetic but firm. Mr. Ashford, I'm afraid your children are facing expulsion. This is the third consecutive semester. Marcus ended the call with a jab of his finger. 17 years of sacrifice, of building an empire from nothing, and his twins, his legacy, were crumbling like sand castles at high tide. He loosened his silk tie, feeling it constrict around his throat like a noose. Elena and Ethan, 16 years old, brilliant when they were younger, reading at 4, solving complex puzzles at 6. Now they could barely pass remedial courses at the most expensive prep school in the state. The penthouse felt cavernous as he walked through it that evening, his footsteps echoing off imported marble. Abstract paintings worth more than most people's houses hung on walls the color of winter fog. Everything perfect, everything cold. He found them in the media room, bathed in the blue glow of a video game. Controllers in their hands, eyes hollow and distant. "We need to talk," Marcus said, his voice sharp enough to cut glass. Neither looked at him. "Did you hear me?" "We heard you," Elena murmured, her thumb working controller with mechanical precision. Her dark hair hung in front of her face like a curtain she could hide behind. Ethan said nothing at all. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. Not quite breaking, but fracturing the way ice splinters before it shatters completely. When had they stopped looking at him? When had he become the enemy? "I've hired every tutor money can buy. You have every advantage, every opportunity. Everything," Elena interrupted, her voice so quiet he almost missed it, "except the one thing we actually needed." What's that supposed to mean? But she was already walking away. Ethan following like a shadow, and Marcus was left alone in the blue darkness, rage and confusion warring in his gut. Rosa Sandoval had worked for the Ashford family for 3 years, arriving before dawn 6 days a week to clean rooms larger than the entire apartment where she'd raised her own children. She was 52, with hands worn rough from decades of labor, and eyes that noticed everything people tried to hide. That particular morning, she found Elena in the kitchen at 5:47 a.m., sitting at the island in yesterday's clothes, staring at a mug of cold coffee. "Mija," Rosa said softly, setting down her cleaning supplies. "You haven't slept. Can't sleep when you're a disappointment." Elena's laugh was bitter as burnt sugar. "Dad's probably already looking for a new prep school that'll take failures like us. One with lower standards." Rosa filled a kettle and set it on the stove, her movements deliberate, grounding. "Your father called me into his office last night. Asked me if I'd noticed anything. Any drugs, any bad influences." "What did you tell him?" "I told him he should ask you himself." Rosa pulled chamomile tea from the cupboard. "But I don't think he knows how anymore." The words hung in the air like dust motes in morning light. Elena's hands trembled around the cold mug. "We used to have family dinners. Before Mom died. Every night, no matter what. She'd make Dad tell us about his day, and he'd actually listen when we talked about ours. He'd help with homework, make terrible jokes, be present. And now he works until midnight, leave before we wake up, and measure success in test scores and GPAs." Elena's voice cracked. "We tried, Rosa. That first year after Mom died, we tried so hard. But nothing we did brought him back. He was there, but he wasn't there. So we stopped trying. If we're going to lose him anyway, what's the point?" Rosa's chest tightened. She thought of her own children, grown now, how she worked 3 jobs to keep them fed, but had never missed a school play, never let exhaustion keep her from listening to their dreams and fears. "Oh, Mija," she whispered, "you're not failing your classes. You're failing on purpose." Elena's tears finally came, silent and devastating. If we succeeded, he'd just think his money fixed everything. His expensive schools, his fancy tutors. We needed our dad, and we got a checkbook. The kettle began to whistle, a lonely sound in the cavernous kitchen. Rosa found Marcus in his office that evening, tie loosened, staring at spreadsheets that might as well have been written in ancient Greek for all the meaning they held in that moment. "Mr. Ashford, I need to speak with you." "Not now, Rosa. I'm trying to figure out. Your children are failing because they want you to notice them." The words landed like a demolition charge in the quiet room. Marcus looked up, his expression shifting from irritation to confusion to something that might have been fear. "What are you talking about?" Rosa stepped forward, this woman who scrubbed his toilets and folded his laundry, suddenly seeming taller than him. "When was the last time you had dinner with them? When was the last time you asked about their day and actually listened to the answer? When was the last time you were their father instead of their bank account? I'm providing for them. I'm building something they can. They don't want your empire, Mr. Ashford. They want you." Rosa's voice was steady, but her eyes blazed. "You lost your wife. I understand that grief. But they lost their mother, and then they lost you too. So they're failing over and over, hoping that maybe if they fall far enough, you'll finally catch them." The spreadsheet blurred before Marcus's eyes. He thought of the last 3 years, a parade of accomplishments and acquisitions, of late nights and early mornings, of burying himself in work because work didn't remind him of Maria's empty chair at the dinner table, her laugh in the hallway, her hand in his at night. "I don't know how," he whispered. "I don't know how to be there without falling apart." Rose's expression softened. "You don't have to be whole to be present. You just have to show up. That's all they've ever wanted, for you to show up." The next morning, Marcus was in the kitchen at 7 a.m. when his children came down for school. They froze in the doorway, staring at him like he was a ghost. "I'm making pancakes," Marcus said, his voice rough with uncertainty. "Or trying to. Your mother was better at this. I'm pretty sure these are closer to hockey pucks." Elena and Ethan exchanged a glance, something passing between them in that silent twin language they developed in the womb. "You're here," Ethan said finally, his first words to Marcus in weeks. "I'm here." Marcus set down the spatula, his hands shaking slightly. "And I'm sorry I haven't been. I'm sorry I let work become a wall between us. I'm sorry I measured love intuition checks and thought that was enough." "Dad," Elena started, but her voice broke. "I miss her too," Marcus continued, tears finally coming after 3 years of holding them back. "Every day. And I think I convinced myself that if I just kept moving, kept building, kept succeeding, I wouldn't have to feel the hole she left. But I was wrong. And I made you feel that hole even deeper." The twins moved forward simultaneously, and then they were all wrapped together in the middle of the vast kitchen, crying and holding on like shipwreck survivors finding solid ground. "We're sorry about school," Elena sobbed. "We just wanted." "I know. Rosa told me. And you were right to fail. I was failing you first, in ways that matter so much more." They stood there for a long time, pancakes burning on the stove, smoke detector eventually wailing, all of them laughing through tears as Marcus tried to open windows, and Ethan grabbed a dish towel to wave under the alarm. It was chaos. It was imperfect. It was the first real moment they'd shared in 3 years. 6 months later, Rosa arrived to find the kitchen already occupied. The 3 Ashfords arguing cheerfully about whether the French Revolution or the American Revolution was more influential, Elena gesturing with a piece of toast, Ethan scribbling on a napkin to illustrate his point, Marcus listening with full attention, occasionally interjecting with questions that showed he actually cared about the answer. The dining table, unused for years, was set for 4. "Rosa," Marcus looked up, smiling in a way that reached his eyes. "Join us. Elena's convinced she can prove I'm wrong about Robespierre. I can." Elena insisted. "You're looking at it from a purely economic perspective. Because economics drives everything." "Dad, that's so reductive." Rosa watched them, warmth spreading through her chest. Marcus had cut back his hours. The twins were back in school, their grades recovering slowly but steadily, because now they had a reason to try. More importantly, they had family dinners again, movie nights, conversations about things that mattered and things that didn't. They'd never be the same as before Maria died, but they'd found a new way to be whole. "Thank you," Marcus said quietly to Rosa later, as she prepared to leave. "Thank you for telling me what I needed to hear." "They told you themselves," Rosa replied. "I just translated." She left them there, arguing and laughing and healing. 3 people learning to be a family again. The penthouse still had its crystal chandeliers and marble floors, but it was no longer a mausoleum. It was a home, and that was worth more than any empire.